You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, your guy Pat Lane here. Solo show tonight, but we are a proud member of the CLNS group of podcasts. Make sure you download and subscribe to all of the great shows on that podcast network to get great Patriots content all week long. Again, it's your guy Pat Lane. Matt still having some concussion symptoms, so he is not here. But I'm here. I'm here with you. And so we're going to be talking some Patriots. Stream's a little delayed today. I was watching Stranger Things with my oldest, so she was all excited about it. So we watched the first two episodes, and then I was able to hop on here. So hopefully you're out there watching it too. Obviously you're watching right now with us, but hopefully you get a chance to watch it as well. And don't worry, I will not. No spoilers. I promise, James. No spoilers. But let's get right into it. There are some things around the league that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to lead the show off with that. I am going to talk about the Patriots. Obviously, they're playing Monday night. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, as everyone knows, or if you're listening to this on Thanksgiving, maybe you listen to it on Friday. Who knows? But we'll go from there. So Patriots play on Monday. 3 games tomorrow, which is interesting. We'll talk maybe a little bit about that, but we'll go from there. So. But anyways, Monday night, the Giants, the G-men, come into town. Giants are 2-10, right? They're terrible. They're awful. They're embarrassing. They're horrendous. Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend. Okay, as Lee Corso would say. They're on a 6-game losing streak right now. All right, 6-game losing streak. They lost by 1 point in Denver to the Denver Broncos. Okay? Denver's really good. They lost by 18 to the Eagles. They got smashed by the Eagles. They lost by 10 to the Niners. They lost by 4 to the Bears, at the Bears, who are on a huge win streak of their own. They lost by 7 to the Packers, and they just took the Lions to overtime. So, that's really interesting. And Nikhil, little 6-7 joke, will make the Giants losing streak 6-7. I like that. But they're not as bad as people think. Now, I am curious to see what's going to happen this week as far as Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart. We'll kind of see where that comes from. Who's going to end up being the guy that starts this week. I'm not really sure. He was a full participant today. He has not cleared concussion protocol. But the fact that he was a full participant tells me that that he's probably going to be the guy to play. This isn't necessarily an either or, the Patriots are screwed if so-and-so starts. I wouldn't have been too happy about Jameis Winston starting either. I think Dart brings a little bit more when it comes to mobility outside of the pocket. Winston can move, but Dart can actually run with the ball. We'll see. We'll see as far as that goes. But and by the way, Poker mentions it, which is true. They give up leads late in the game. The Giants do, which is good because the Giants are historically a team that starts early. The Patriots are a team that starts late. It's not a great combination, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants are the first team to score a touchdown and they're up 10-0, maybe 14-0 or 14-3 or something like that. So, we'll see. But, it's something, don't take that lightly. They did also remember that Thursday night where they smashed the Eagles too? Before that 6-game losing streak, they smashed the Eagles 34-17. That was Dart and Scadaboo's, big game together or whatever. So, their 2 wins are against the Eagles and the Chargers, which the Chargers, say what you want about the Chargers, are 7-4, right? They're right on the cusp of the playoffs in the AFC. So, they're bad. I'm not saying that they're good, but they're a team that's feisty. They can get after their quarterback a little bit. We all know what the offensive line is going to look like, and we'll talk about a little bit about Will Campbell. what the Will Campbell situation and Jared Wilson situation looks like. Wilson not placed on IR. Campbell is placed on IR. So we'll kind of talk about that with that. So, but nevertheless, but that's what we have for you today. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about this offensive line. Okay, Nikhil thinks that Lowe is trash. Nikhil thinks that Lowe is the Davis Mills of left tackles. I mean, I don't know. Davis Mills has won 3 straight games, so maybe that's not that bad. I don't know. Davis Mills 3-0 as it started this year. So it came out recently that he was suffering from I think it was a torn, what the heck was the shoulder? Was it an AC joint? Was it a sprained AC joint? 9 games, the torn labrum. Sorry about that. Torn labrum. Playing 9 games of the torn labrum, probably not ideal. For an offensive lineman that strikes with his hands and uses his shoulders probably quite a bit. Not ideal to have a torn labrum. That obviously maybe contributed to some of what it looked like at the end of the year. I thought he looked decent at the beginning of the year and then worse as the year went on. That could explain some of it. I think one of the things about Lowe is that he's not great. He's a backup. First of all, he's a backup tackle. He's a backup tackle for a reason. The Patriots drafted a left tackle number 4 overall. They weren't happy with Vidarian Lowe, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. They don't want him as their starter. But they had some guys in camp. They had some people there. They have Marcus Bryant, who I thought played well in camp and then played well in the preseason. They have some guys that can do the job. They're choosing to go with Vidarian Lowe. That tells me that they're at least comfortable working with Vidarian Lowe. They think that he can at least competently or semi-competently do the job at left tackle. We'll see if that's true or not. I would imagine they'll be giving him lots of help. He was on an island a lot last year. Coaching was an issue last year. It was an issue. Just was. So, and Nikhil was wondering, and a lot of people have asked this question, right? Why didn't we sign a backup left tackle? Why didn't we trade left tackle, a backup at the deadline, right? Why didn't we go out and get someone like that? I think, frankly, they like what they have in Vidarian Lowe. I think that they, again, not as an every down player, but if you're signing someone to be a backup, to come in and play it, to be a reserve role for you, and you feel like you have something in Vidarian Lowe, then what's the point of bringing a guy in that you think can be a reservist, right? And again, I just go back to they're in the building with him every day. They see him on the practice field. They're looking at it saying, do we need a backup left tackle? No, we have a backup left tackle. Do we want him starting for us? No, but that's, I mean, yeah, here you are, right? This is what happens. Attrition happens in the NFL. Guys get hurt, and other guys got to step in. It's just the way it works. That's the way it goes. So it wasn't good, but last year, the entire team wasn't good. The whole team wasn't good. He was their second best offensive lineman last year, right? Behind Mike Onwenu. Now, it's not saying much, but he was still their second best offensive lineman last year. So, at least from that perspective, and oh, by the way, Ben Brown played last year too. I think he's a better player than Ben Brown is. I think Ben Brown's fine. I don't trust Ben Brown, but I think he can do the job at guard, I guess. The problem for me is that Ben Brown's not a great run blocker. Vidarian Lowe's not a great run blocker. The run blocking hasn't worked out anyways. And so now you're I think taking a downgrade on both tackle and guard spots for run blockers. And that's an issue for me. That's an issue. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. And again, I expect a whole bunch of chips, a whole bunch of them. I expect a lot of, max protect where maybe a tight end stays in and blocks, and gives Lowe that extra help as well. So I think that's going to be the case. And look, Paperwave says it, like, the coaching's better. The coaching's better than it was last year. The offensive line's better than it was last year, right? It's been a massive improvement. Now there's 4 new pieces on the offensive line. So that's of course, one of those things, right? Where you say, hey, like, we're here. It is what it is. But again, is it a drop off from Campbell to Lowe? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's a drop off from Campbell to Lowe. But I think that Lowe is a replacement level player. In other words, he's a player that is a baseline backup player in the NFL, right? He's not a starter. He's not a guy that's, that you're gonna depend on to be your franchise left tackle or anything like that. But he's okay. He's okay. Oh, you want to see the stupidest question of all time? Here you go. There's the dumbest question of all time. Which is worse, a Will Campbell injury or a Drake May injury? That's the single dumbest question I've seen on the show. Nikhil, I love you, my friend, but what are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? Drake May is the best player on the team. He's the best player on the team. He's towards the top of the NFL of the MVP conversation, and we're asking, do we think that Will Campbell or Drake May is more important? What are we talking about, man? Like, that's insane. I know it hurts losing the franchise left tackle. And by the way, I said from day one when they drafted him that he was a left tackle. He was going to be a left tackle, and he was going to be just fine. And here he is, being just fine. Okay? So, as a rookie. Nevertheless, like, it's not even close. It's not even worth discussing. So anyways, and listen, am I worried about Vidarian Lowe and Ben Brown? Absolutely. I'm worried about the two of them. But, it is what it is. He's just, you got to play him, dude. Like, it's one of those things where you got to play those guys because you got no one else, because guys are hurt. And this is what happens in the NFL. Now, the concerning part's going to be, what if another offensive lineman goes down? What if Garrett Bradbury goes down? Now Ben Brown's moving over to center, and now you got to scramble to find a left guard or something. This is the issue, right? They brought in some guys. I'm sure they brought in people for workouts, and there's some guys on a practice squad or someone else's practice squad they like, or whatever the case may be. But I don't know. It's just not. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. But nevertheless, it's this isn't the situation that we want to be in, but we're here. And so that's, unfortunately, you got to deal with it. So Patriots are 10-2. They are the best team in the AFC right now. I love it. Right? This is a situation where you're looking at it and saying, all right, here we are. Like, the Patriots have a real chance to do this. Now, Denver's playing Sunday night. They have a chance to get to 10-2 as well. They're playing in Washington. I assume they'll win that game. So there's a chance that Denver's 10-2 before you play again. But hey, you never know. Denver could lose that game. It's possible. And then you're able to gain a little bit of ground. But anyways, by the way, and I know people, we talked about this a little bit. But as you've seen the all 22 clips, okay, the two throws that Drake May made, first of all, the one to Hooper, where he throws it over the linebacker's head in between two safeties, a little bit behind Hooper so that he can protect himself, is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's an unbelievable throw. It's a throw that May has made before. It's a throw that a ton of guys in the NFL make. It was a great throw. The throw to Pop Douglas, that might be the best throw anyone's thrown all year long. That literally might be the throw of the year so far. He's throwing with anticipation 45 yards downfield. And he just places it there. It's like you could have thrown that better if he handed it to him, right? That's just like it is. It was an incredible throw. He threw that ball when Pop was at the 25-yard line, and he catches at the 45, and he's throwing it to open space. But man, that's an incredible throw. And so as rough as his first half was, and as bad as, he's up and down at times, May has been since really he had that hot streak early in the season. He's been good still. But that's one of those ones where you just absolutely cannot. No one's doing that. No one's doing that. I don't care who you are. Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford, no one's making that throw. That throw is an incredible throw. He's trusting his guy to get there. Unbelievable. So it's just, it's fun to watch, man. We have a quarterback that can do stuff like that. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. Now we got to be able to give him time. And that obviously is going to be an issue for this offensive line. But you got to hope that they can do it. We'll see. So as far as the rest of the offense is concerned, I expect Ramondre to get a little bit more work this week. I just think it makes sense. Like, I want to see Travion out there. I think Travion, I'd like to see him as, the featured back, quote unquote. I also want him fresh for the playoffs. He's a rookie, don't forget. He also is a guy that's always been a timeshare guy. He's always been a timeshare guy. And so what worries me, Ohio State brought in Quinshon Judkins last year, right? They had Henderson and they brought in Judkins, right? The reason why they did that is because they knew that Henderson's a timeshare guy, right? I don't want him getting 20 carries a game. It's too much. It's too much. He should be getting 10 to 15 touches a game, period. Every game. This is what we said before the end of before the season started, right? So that's one of those things where, am I super excited about Ramondre? Am I saying Ramondre's is great? Not necessarily, no. I just need Ramondre to keep Henderson safe. That's why I'm using Ramondre. So, is it possible that Ramondre gets cut at the end of the year? Absolutely. Yep. It's definitely possible. And they bring someone else in, or they draft a guy in the 5th round or something like that to come in. I don't know. But for now, for this season, I'm looking at it saying we got to protect Travion a little bit, because he's just not that guy. He's not a workhorse guy. He's not. And frankly, football in January means a hell of a lot more to me than football in December, right? I care about the football in December. I want them to win the rest of the games all the way through. I think it'd be awesome to get the number 1 seed. That'd be sick. I care about the football that's played, starting in mid-January, right? January, 7th is that first Sunday? No, 6, 7, depending on, when they're playing. No, is that right? No, that's incorrect. That's false. The 11th is the first weekend, right? So the 11th is that first weekend. That's what I'm worried about, right? That's what I care about. I care about this game. I care about the rest of the games. I care about the games that start on January 10th. Right? That's what I care about. I want Travion Henderson fresh for those games. So, but, we'll see what happens. So, anyways, I also think, too, Pop Douglas is a guy that hasn't been getting enough shine. We kind of wrote him off at the beginning of the year. And, look, he was bad the first 4 games. I'm not denying that, right? And no one should be denying that. However, he's been significantly better lately, right? You look at yards per route run versus man coverage. Yards per route run. Number 3 in the NFL is Pop Douglas. Now, he's not an every down guy. Nevertheless, yards per route run. First downs per route run versus man coverage. Number 6 in the league. So this is what I'm saying here. Like, am I telling you Pop Douglas is a great player? No. He's a bit guy. He's a guy that doesn't play every snap. But when he's out there, he's being effective, right? He's getting the ball. They're pushing the ball down the field to him, right? That matters. That makes a difference. And I think that, that for me is one of those things where he's really changed. the offense a little bit for the better, right? To have that, he's been their deep threat, which is great. And I think that, that's one of those things that I'm looking at saying, all right, I like what I've seen from Bob Douglas. I like what I've seen from all of our receivers. Honestly, Booty, I know, was getting back into the mix last week, but I like that. I like that. So we'll see. The Giants did fire their defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, as Nikhil just pointed out. He is a Vrabel guy, actually, so it wouldn't necessarily surprise me to see him pop up on the staff at some point later on in the year. But as Paper Waves pointed out, their D-line can't stop the run this year. They've had a really hard time stopping the run. And that's one of the reasons why I want to see Ramondre out there a little bit, because I would like this to be a run-first game, and I just can't hand the ball off 25 times to Travion Henderson. We just can't do that. And so I want to see Mondre, getting a little bit more carries, whether it could only be 8 carries, right? And Henderson gets 10 or whatever, or it could be, 12 carries and Henderson gets 13 or something like that. Whatever the case may be, run the ball a good amount. Maybe even use Jennings a little bit, because Jennings will be active for the game, I assume, as well. So, run the ball. This is one of those things that, I think can be helpful. So, but we'll see. Control the football, right? Control the football. And if you can get them down, you're playing a rookie quarterback on the other side. Like, that's, we'll see. We'll see. Patriots haven't been able to run against anyone, right? As Nikhil points out, like, the Bengals were historically bad. Like, one of the worst defenses in NFL history bad. And the Patriots had a hard time against them. So, I think that I think it's not a slam dunk. It's not a layup, any of those things. But I think you got to try to at least establish the run against them a little bit. And then that's where the play action pass comes into play, and then so on and so forth. And so we'll see. But that's what I'm hoping happens, at least. So as far as the rest of the offense is concerned, we got to see more certainly from the offensive line. The guys got to step up, right? Who will we see? Who's going to be the guy that steps up? Who's going to point out after the game and say, that guy had a great game? We didn't expect it necessarily, but that guy had a great game, right? So, that's, I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm not sure who that guy's going to be, but someone's going to do it. Someone's going to do it. So we'll see. I will say, I'll get into the defense afterwards. Offensively, I don't have much else, right? I don't have much else. I'm going to talk about the Giants offense in a second. But offensively with the Patriots, establish the run, take care of the football. This is another game. And again, this is where I come back to that Steelers game. That Steelers game is one of those games that I think matters more so in the fact that it was so bad that it's like, hey, we got to take care of the dang football, man. And Drake's, hasn't been perfect, lately, but nevertheless, they've done a much better job at taking care of the football. The other guys in the offense have done a much better job of taking care of the football. And so, so that's something that I'm hoping continues. So, but we'll see. Anyways, let's take a quick ad break. I'm sorry, and then we'll go flip over to the other side. All right. Then I got some thoughts around the NFL too, just quickly. But this episode, of course, is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. And that's Prize Picks, of course. Few of the things that I love on Prize Picks, right, is that Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. If your fantasy season's over, like some of mine are, you can play daily fantasy sports every day on Prize Picks, right? Don't worry about that. You get a new lineup every week, maybe even every game if you want on Prize Picks. What's better than that, you know? So it's super simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Now, my picks for this week, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. This week, there's a free Lamar Jackson square. For free Lamar Jackson square. Take it. I will take that. Thank you very much. I have George Pickens for more than 4.5 receptions. And I have Brandon McManus for more than 0.5 field goals made. At least 1 field goal for Green Bay. It's got to happen. So that's what I got. What you are going to do, download the app Prize Picks, put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Okay, so let's get into the Giants. And someone. Okay, who in the Giants' offense scares you? Right, Nelson asks. And the answer to that question is probably not many guys. However, they ran the heck out of the ball. Like, they just ran it. They ran it against the Lions. Now, they didn't have a ton of success. Tyrone Tracy averaged 3.1 yards per carry. Devin Singletary averaged 3.4 yards per carry. But they ran it 34 times with those 2 guys. It's a lot of runs. They were trying to control the ball. Right? You're talking about long runs of 11 and 13 yards. They didn't gash them at all, right? But they ran it, and they worked on it, and they said, we're going to run this ball. Now, they may not do the same thing as the Patriots because the Patriots have a very good run defense, although Milton Williams is out still, right? And so that obviously isn't ideal, right? But I don't know if they're going to try to commit to the run that much. Maybe they saw some of the Lions that thought they could run it. I don't know. Wan'Dale Robinson, the guy they like to use a lot. He had a ton of receptions last week, 9 for 156 and a touchdown. He's got 66 catches on the year, right? He's got a lot of targets. You just look at his target list, right? Outside of 1 game against Philadelphia, he's had 7 targets or more since the start of October in every single game. They want to get him the ball. That's what they're going to try to do. And so they're going to throw the ball to him a ton. Now, against Green Bay, he had 9 targets, 4 catches for 36 yards. Against Chicago, he had 11 targets, 6 catches for 62 yards. Then against San Fran, he had 11 targets, 9 catches, but only 46 yards. Right? Denver, he had 12 targets, 6 for 95. So it's one of those things where sometimes it's successful. He had 14 targets against Detroit this weekend. He had 9 catches for 156. The thing about him, he's a big guy. He's a big play guy. And so if he's a big play guy, that's what you got to worry about. That's what I worry about. Does he hit a big play? Right? They're going to try to do that. They have a really good tight end in Theo Johnson. Now, Theo Johnson doesn't have the counting stats, doesn't have the number stats. He's under 40 catches this year, but he's a guy that can stretch the field from the tight end position. The Patriots have struggled this year with tight ends. And so that's one of those things where I look at it and say, what are we going to do? We got to stop Wan'Dale, and we got to stop Theo Johnson, right? Who's their number one? So this is the problem. When you have Christian Gonzalez that can theoretically take away the number one. I know he gave up a touchdown last week. Like, he gave up 3 receptions last week. 3. And people are like, throw him off the bridge. Like, what are we talking about? He gave up 3 receptions, okay? It was his first touchdown he gave up all year. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, come on. Like, let's relax. But who do you put him on? Do you put him on a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, who's in and out of the slot, plays in the slot, plays on the outside, moves around the formation, goes in motion a ton, takes carries out of the backfield, he does everything for them. So he's probably not going to go on. And Marcus Jones is probably going to go on Wan'Dale Robinson, I would think. Or they're going to say, we're going to play zone and try to stop him that way. But I look at what the Patriots are doing defensively, and I think if we can stop the run, make them one-dimensional, I think that makes a difference, makes a big difference. Now, again, can you do that effectively? They allowed a 100-yard rusher for the first time last week, right? Back-to-back weeks. Everyone talked about, they haven't allowed a 50-yard rusher, haven't allowed a 50-yard rusher, haven't allowed 50. Well, they've done it now, right? A few weeks in a row here now, right? So, start with the Tampa game, right? And now it's 3 weeks in a row that they've had a guy over 50 yards, and last week was the first time they allowed a rusher over 100 yards. So that's one of those things where, you look at it and say, okay, well, all right, fine, here we are, but now what, right? And so can we stop them consistently? And if they're willing to run it 20 times, Tyron Tracy had 20 carries for 62 yards. Are they willing to run it 20 times? I don't know. So, but, what are you going to do? So, anyways, so we'll see. Defensively, I think Carlton Davis really stepped up at the end of the. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Carlton Davis stepped up at the end of the game. He's been up and down. I know that, but I'm hoping that maybe this will help him turn the corner a little bit. Marcus Jones had another nice game, although he dropped that interception when he should have just tried to knock it down. But I can't fault him too much for that. But this is where the Patriots have been at. The Patriots, I think, are a good defense. They're not necessarily a great defense, but they're a good defense. The Giants are weird because they don't have one guy. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson's that guy, right? But they move Wan'Dale everywhere. So it's not like they're going to line him up outside and they're just going to throw to him a ton. They're moving him all over the formation. They're having him go in motion. They're throwing quick screens to him. So it's like those are the things that you have to watch for with Robinson. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to beat you with his route running on the outside. He's just not going to do that. And so he's shifty and he's fast and you got to worry about him. But it's not like, just stick Gonzo on him and we're fine. It's not how it works. I was a little bit less worried about T. Higgins last week because I just figured, right, T. Higgins getting taken away by a combination of Gonzo and Carlton Davis, which is pretty much what happened, right? And so Wan'Dale is just different. He just moves around a lot. So I think you'll see Marcus tailing him a lot. I think you'll see some zone coverage. I think you got to try to take away those big plays from him. So if they can do that, if they can stop the run and they can take away the big plays from Wan'Dale Robinson, I just don't know how the Giants move the ball. I don't know how they do it. They'll figure out a way, I guess. And if Dart's playing, he can run decently well. He's just coming back from an injury. So, from a head injury too. So he's already been in the tent a few times. Is he going to be willing to take shots? Is Kafka going to be willing? Now, Kafka's an interim coach, but he's not one of those bash your head into the wall interim coaches. He's like a thinking man's interim coach, right? So, is he going to want to run Jackson Dart? So, I don't know. We'll see. But this Giants defense doesn't scare me unless you can't stop Wan'Dale Robinson. And Hodgins is a guy that, has made some big plays. He didn't do anything. But, he scored a touchdown last week, right? And, he had 5 catches a week before that. He had 6 targets last game. So, he's a guy that can rack up some big plays. And again, that's what you worry about. That's what you worry about, right? Wan'Dale Robinson catches a 39-yard touchdown pass. Hodgins rolls only 12 yards, but nevertheless, Hodgins gets a 12-yard touchdown pass. Gunner catches a 33-yard touchdown. It's not really a deep pass, but you get the idea, right? So those are the things. Eliminate the big plays. It makes it more difficult. The other thing the Patriots really have to focus on is their red zone offense and defense. Just horrendous. Horrendous. Just awful. It's one of those things where it's like you get in the red zone that much and you can't score. I think they ran 12. I think they ran 12 plays and goal to go and got 3 points out of it. That just can't happen. It just can't happen against a historically bad defense. And there were a few plays that were there, right? Drake May's going to watch the film and be pissed at himself because he handed off to Ramondre on 4th and goal from the 1 and didn't keep it and threw to a wide open Hunter Henry in the flat, right? So, there are some plays to be made. It's not all on the coaching staff, right? Some of it's on the coaching staff. Some of it's on the players. Like, you just got to make a play. Tampa, the same exact thing happened to them in Tampa. The same exact thing happened to them in Tampa right at the end of the first half. They didn't settle with a field goal. They went for the touchdown. And what did they do? They threw a back of the end zone fade to Stephon Diggs, and he went up and mossed the guy and came down and made a great catch. And it was a great throw and a great catch. Sometimes your players got to step up and make a play. And so, trust those guys to make a play a little bit more. I don't know. It's not good. It's not good, right? And so that's the stuff that worries me about this game, right? Can the Giants get into the red zone? If they are, can we stop them? If we get into the red zone, can we score? Score a touchdown in the red zone, please. So, again, I don't know. We'll see exactly how it goes, but it's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating to watch. It's a 10-2 team. Patriots are 10-2, right? There are some nitpicks for sure, right? There are some spots where it's, hey, this guy's not playing as well as he should be, or, this coach isn't calling the right plays, or I don't like what this guy's gotten us, or, given us this year, and so on and so forth. There are things that you could say, but they're 10-2. Like, there's not that much to complain about. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Spread's 7.5 on Monday night. I might be inclined to take the Giants. 7.5 points, a lot of points. It's a lot of points. The Giants have, again, I went through it with you, right? They lost by 7 to the Lions. They lost by 7 to the Packers. They lost by 4 to the Bears. 10 and 18 to the Niners and Eagles, but then they lost by 1 to the Broncos, right? And so it's like they lost by 3 to the Cowboys early in the season. So this is one of those things where it's like they typically play decently close games. I think this is probably going to be another one of those decently close games, right? I think the offense should move the ball a little bit, but yeah, you worry about new guys in the offensive line. Right? I mean, they played 12 games. For 11 of those 12 games, they had the same 5 starters on the offensive line. That makes a huge difference. Even if your guys aren't as good. Jared Wilson's been fine. Garrett Bradbury's been fine. Those guys have been fine this year. But when you have that cohesive unit and they work together and they get along well, and they've been talking about, the Thursday night dinners, right? Like, this is the type of stuff that matters. You build that camaraderie with your teammates, and that makes a difference. Now you get 2 new guys stepping in there. So what is that going to do to the cohesiveness of the offensive line? Is everyone going to look a little bit worse, right? So those are the questions. Again, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but those are the questions that I'm curious about. I'm really kind of, I'm wondering what will happen, and all we can do is that. And again, I'll defer to Paper Waves here. Trust your coaching staff. Just trust your coaching staff. Trust that they're going to protect Drake May, that they're going to call the right plays. They've done it for most of the season. So trust they're going to continue doing it. So anyways, I expect the Patriots to win. I also expect the Giants to cover. So, and then you get the bye week, and you have Buffalo and Baltimore back-to-back. And there's your season right there, folks. You win on Monday night. If you win on Monday night, you get a chance to clinch the AFC East with a win against Buffalo at home. It's pretty dope. That's pretty awesome. It's a hat and T-shirt game, as they say. That's no joke, right? Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that, but they could. They have the chance to do that, and I think that's awesome. That's kind of how I feel about the Patriots in general this year. I think that this team is good enough to beat anyone. I don't necessarily think that they're going to, but I think that they can. If they went against the Chiefs in the playoffs, I'd be worried. I think they probably lose that game, but I think they actually could win that game. And that's awesome. That's an exciting feeling to have. Before they could win, but like the team bus would have to crash or something like that on the way to the game. Like, that's the way the Patriots would have to win that game. Now you can line up with their number ones and our number ones and think that we have a chance in this game. That's pretty awesome. especially considering where we were last year with the worst team in football. So, and yes, I know we won 4 games. We're the worst team in football. We really had 3 wins. So, nevertheless, anyway, so that's what I have for that. Just one quick thing. The Shedeur Sanders hype is wild. It's wild. It's insane. It's completely nuts. In this era of I'm going to say whatever I can to get clicks, he is the perfect target for that. The perfect target for that on both sides. On both sides, he's the perfect target for that. For people that love him and think that he's great, it's perfect. Because even if I don't think he's that good, I can go above and beyond. I can say, hey, man, he's always been that guy. The NFL didn't want him there. The Browns don't want him. It's insane. The talk is insane. And then from the other end of it, people are saying he's not even an NFL quarterback, and he's not. It's just like, okay, everyone just pump the brakes a little bit here. Like, Shedeur, here's part of the problem. America loves an underdog story. They do. They love an underdog story. They love a guy that came out of nowhere that's an underdog. Shedeur Sanders is not an underdog. He's not an underdog. I don't care he was drafted in the 5th round. I don't care. His dad's Deion Sanders. People have been talking about him for 3 years nonstop about him coming to the pros. He got his number retired at Colorado. Did he win the Heisman? Did he win a bowl game? Like, what are we doing here? He got his number retired at Colorado for being a decent college quarterback. He got his number retired before he graduated. It's embarrassing. Just like, that's insane. It's a publicity stunt. Everything surrounding him is publicity. And so, does he know the right things to say? He absolutely does know the right things to say. I'm the guy they've been waiting for. You know, this is what it looks like right after the game. He's saying, this is what it looks like after 1 week of practice. What's it going to look like after a whole offseason break? He knows what to say to get people riled up, which makes sense because his father is like the number 1 guy ever at doing that, right? Like, Brian was incredible at doing that. He was an exceptional cornerback whose legacy is built even more by his bravado, right? Like, his talk and the way he talked, and he could back it up, but the way he talked, that's part of his history, right? That's part of why he is who he is. And good for him. And Shedeur's doing the same thing. It's the same blueprint, right? The difference now is that the media makes so much more money off talking about it. Every Jimmy and Joe out there has a podcast and can talk about how the NFL is blacklisting him or how, you know, Shedeur is cocky and arrogant and we all hate him and he's actually terrible. And, you know, the only reason he's in the NFL is because of his dad. We can go either way on it. And I'm just doing it for the clicks, right? That's where we're at right now. And so the conversation is out of control. Listen, did he play well on Sunday? Not really. He was fine. He had one really nice throw downfield to Isaiah Bond. That's a heck of a throw. That's a heck of a throw running to his right, throwing off his foot as he's running, right, in the breadbasket 50 yards downfield. It's a really nice throw, right? No doubt. Really nice throw. But it's one throw, right? Like, let's see him read NFL defenses for a whole game. Let's see what it looks like. It didn't look great on Sunday. Had a few nice plays, didn't look great. If he has a few nice plays and it doesn't look great overall, this discourse will continue. This discourse is going to continue as long as he's in the NFL. I actually think if you're a fan of Shedeur Sanders, you want him to play less because the less he plays, the better he gets, right? If he goes out there and doesn't play well, it's like, wow, you know, the Browns stink and no quarterback would be good in this system and, you know, and so on and so forth and everything else. Like, you know, I will say this. It's clear he should be the starting quarterback in Cleveland. It's clear. Dylan Gabriel is terrible. He's terrible. He's not an NFL quarterback. For the love of God, We're Patriots fans. We watched it. I was there. I watched the game against Cleveland. He can't make a throw. He can't throw the ball. He can't be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He can't throw it. He looks like Chad Pennington looked like after he had 19 shoulder surgeries. He just can't throw it. So you can't put Dylan Gabriel back there. It's insane. So you put Shador in, and if he stinks, then he stinks. What are you going to do? Like, it just is what it is. Stefanski's getting fired at the end of the year. He should get fired at the end of the year anyways. It doesn't really matter. He should get fired at the end of the year. So stick Shador out there and see what happens, But we'll see. The other one is, and Nikhil asked about it, J.J. McCarthy. And this is so funny because J.J. McCarthy, he's in concussion protocol right now, so he's probably not playing this week anyways. But Tommy Curran, I'm assuming he's admitted he's wrong at this point, wanted J.J. McCarthy over Drake May. There are lots of people that wanted J.J. McCarthy were J.J. McCarthy people. Okay? J.J. McCarthy right now, so far in his career, is having the second worst career in the history of the NFL. Number one, of course, being Jamarcus Russell. It's bad. It's real bad. It's really, really bad. Like, real bad. You can't get the ball to Justin Jefferson. They have an incredible situation over there. An incredible situation. You got Aaron Jones over there, who's a good running back. Jordan Mason was a good running back when he was in there, right? He's decent. He's a decent backup, decent player. You have Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison. You have T.J. Hawkinson. You have Jalen Naylor even has had a good year. They have a great offense. And a few of their guys have been out. I know Darisaw went out, and so their offensive line isn't perfect right now, but it's a great situation. And he looks like absolute trash. Just can't even throw. He's throwing out routes 10 yards over people's heads. It's insane. So I don't get it. I don't see it with him. I never really understood it. I know he's a winner in college, I guess. But someone said, I heard this the other day. Somebody said he attempted, I think it was on the McAfee show. I saw a clip of it. He attempted, I think it was 6 passes. Maybe it was only 5. Somewhere between 5 and 9 passes in the fourth quarter. The entire season when he won the championship for Michigan. He attempted between 5 and 9 passes the entire season in the fourth quarter when they won the national championship. He didn't win anything. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. Okay, that's a whole year. He attempted less than 1 pass attempt per game. It's crazy. So anyways, nevertheless, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. But that's that for me is just it. He is who he is. This is who he's always been, in my opinion, and we're seeing it now. So anyways. So I guess that's really all I have. I do want to add one thing, and this is something that I want to talk about during the bye week, because this is just something that it's not super pertinent to what we're talking about. Jacoby Brissett broke Drew Bledsoe's passing record. Someone else had it too, and I forget who it was. Someone had tied it, but he had 47 completions 2 weeks ago, and Bledsoe's record was 45. He did that when he went 45 for 70 against Minnesota in 1994. Jared Goff, Nikhil points out. Thank you, Nikhil. Jared Goff had 45. He went 45 for 70 in 1994 against the Minnesota Vikings. That is the game where I fell in love with the New England Patriots. Okay? I've told the story before, but I was at the game with my dad. I was 10 years old. My dad predicted they would win. They're down 20-3, down 20-0, and he predicted they would win if they hit the field goal. Matt Barr lined up for a field goal, hit a field goal at the end of the first half. They're down 20-3. They've done nothing all game long. Okay? By the way, in case you're wondering, in the first half, Drew Bledsoe was 9 for 19 for 94 yards. He had attempted 19 passes in the first half. That's it. Okay? Remember now, he finished 45 for 70. Okay? In the second half alone, Bledsoe attempted 48 passes. I think the number was 20. I think it was 23 or 24. I think it was 20. I don't know. It's somewhere around there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. He attempted 48 passes in the second half. That's just the second half. He attempted 48 passes. So it's just insane. It's completely insane when you look at what he did in that game. Of course, they win it in overtime, but one of my favorite games of all time. So it deserves mentioning. We're going to talk about it. We'll talk about it maybe a little bit more during the bye week. But I have an article coming out that I'm working on for Pat's Pulpit that's going to come out during the bye week about that game because it's just the coolest game ever. And I actually, when it comes out, I'm going to retweet my tweet. I found it on YouTube one day. And so I just screen recorded a bunch of it and threw it up on Twitter because I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. So I had all sorts of clips and stuff like that. So anyways, cool. But yeah, so there it goes. Actually, interestingly enough, it was my second ever Patriots game. My first Patriots game ever was the year before when the Patriots played the Houston Oilers and Warren Moon was the quarterback. And then the next year, my second game ever was when the Patriots played the Vikings when Warren Moon was the quarterback. So my first two games, I saw Warren Moon as the opposing quarterback for different teams. So how about that? But anyways, Nikhil was asking about the Cam Newton diss. Look, I think Cam's another one shouting into the echo chamber. Stephen A's taught him well, right? Just say it for attention. It's just for the clicks, right? It's nothing personal. And so, it's one of those things. Like, that's just, yeah, I'm not worried about it. I'm not, Cam does show love to New England. I thought he was a stand-up guy when he was here. I liked having him here. I got nothing really negative to say about Cam Newton. It's just not, it was silly and whatever. But again, that's what that show's about. If that show isn't giving you 30-second clips or 2-minute clips of you saying something outlandish and then everyone else reacting to it, they're not doing their job. Cam's job is to go out and say outlandish stuff. That's his job. And by the way, Drake pointed that out. He's 100% right about that. That's why you don't listen to those guys. We can listen to them because we don't have to go out there and perform on a Sunday. But that's why they don't listen to him. So, anyways, last question because the Hall of Fame finalists were announced. I'm curious to see who gets in. I hope Rodney gets in. I always hope Rodney gets in. I hope Vince gets in. I think that would be cool. I think I mentioned, what if we did an all New England? What if we did an all New England class? I think that'd be pretty sweet. You could pull that off this year. This is one of the only years where you can really pull that off. So you could have, Adam Vinatieri, Rodney Harrison, Vince Wilfork, Bill Belichick, and Robert Kraft, right? So they could all make the Hall of Fame at the same time. It'd be kind of cool. Maybe throw Luke Kuechly in there as well because he went to BC. So Stanley Morgan, my dad points out through text, great point. Stanley Morgan, not a semifinalist, but can go in through the veterans. So, again, if you lead the NFL, if you're number one in NFL history, if you're number one in a big category, you should be in the Hall of Fame. Stanley Morgan is number one all time in yards per reception. Now, maybe you think yards per reception isn't important, but he's number one all time in the history of the NFL in yards per reception. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. So we'll see. He should be in the Hall of Fame. So, but Nikhil, it brought us on. Nikhil was asking about Slater being a Hall of Famer, and I think Matthew Slater is a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he'll get in. I think Steve Tasker probably has to get in before Matthew Slater does. But but I think Slater has a case. He has a case. He certainly won enough. He certainly made enough Pro Bowls. Was an All-Pro a bunch of times, so he has a case for it. But whether he'll get in or not, I don't know. It's hard because there's no counting stats for that. It's not you can point out and say, "Wow, he led the league this year in this, and he led the league that year." It's like, well, no, he was the best special teams player. There's no real counting stats for that. That makes it difficult. So Vince Wilfork, same way, right? Vince doesn't have the counting stats because that's not who he was. He was just the best nose tackle in the NFL, right? And probably a top 5 to 10 nose tackle in the history of the NFL. So, if that's the case, he should be in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't have the numbers to back it up, but he's not supposed to have the numbers because his position doesn't allow him to get the numbers. That's the whole point. And so, real, true ball knowers should know that. You hope that the people voting are true ball knowers, but they're always not. So that's a whole other issue. So anyways, all right, let's get out of here before there are a few more questions, but I'm capping it at 55 minutes. So I appreciate you guys coming through. Have a great Thanksgiving. If you already haven't had Thanksgiving, maybe listen to this podcast form. And if already had your Thanksgiving, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. What I hope for all of you is that you pass out in a food coma on the couch watching football. That's my hope for your Thanksgiving. I can't imagine a better Thanksgiving than that. So I hope that's what your Thanksgiving looks like. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Be good to each other and go Pats.